citizens, this is Shatter. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. Today we're checking out Star Citizen's IAE Day 2 coverage. That's right, guys. New ships, new content. Let's see what we got.
Amazing. Up next, an old favourite from the show floor.
The MISC Prospector is the most popular single-operator mining vehicle in the UEE, capable of breaking and gathering 32 SCU of resources without the need for additional staff and investment, like other offerings from Argo and its competitors. With fully customizable performance and a range of upgradable mining heads and gadgets, the MISC Prospector is crafted for miners who mean business. Fitted with numerous quality-of-life features that make extended excursions a breeze, along with hardy defences against smaller aggressors, this craft is built to handle the demands of deep space resource gathering. Its iconic metallic blue MISC styling speaks volumes, telling the verse you're a dedicated tradesperson focused on success in every venture. The Prospector, like the MISC Fortune and every offering from the MISC line of industrial vehicles, blends form and function into practical prosperity and are available for perusal on this year's IAE show floor.
We return now to the IAE show, brought to you from New Babbage, site of this year's Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, and your guide to the future of spacecraft and vehicles in the verse. Today's topic, Capital Combat, with Rich Tyra, John Crew and Jared Huckabee. Stay tuned, it's the IAE show and it starts right now.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for coming back. We're here for part 2 of our discussion on the life of spaceships and Star Citizen. I want to follow up on something, Rich, that you kind of hinted at in part 1. You mentioned the Squadron 42 demo several times and this experience that was being built at. It's not just a cinematic thing for the start of the show. It's actually seems to be reflective of this capital warfare experience that we're attempting to build here. So I want to ask you outright, how is capital warfare supposed to work? What are we building towards, and why should folks be excited?
I think the first thing to sort of approach is it shouldn't just be the same gameplay as small ships, just scaled up. It needs to be, we talked about progression, it should be a progression of gameplay. So you can't just turn up, lob 50 torpedoes at a ship, press the I win button and go on. You've got to remove those defenses layer by layer. So capital ships have multiple defenses. Obviously they have turrets on them for shooting ships. They also have PDCs for disabling closer targets such as missiles and torpedoes, and then they have physicalized shield emitters, which is what you saw in the demo where Cal Mason sort of kites a Vandal ship into it. So you need to take all those things out in progression to stand a chance against a capital ship.
So it's not just a brute force thing. I know a lot of folks are imagining just coming in with an A2 and dropping a Moab on top of an Idris or something like this. It sounds like there's a puzzle to be solved here. Is that how you would say it, Rich?
Ultimately, capital ship warfare should be a puzzle that you have to figure out. If you actually watch that cinematic for the Squadron demo, you'll notice that one of the lines is, "Hey Cal, I don't think your weapons are large enough to be able to take out that shield emitter, or that shield Jenny, as they say." And he says, "You may be right." And that is actually true. You shouldn't be able to turn up with small ships and small caliber weapons against a huge capital ship. And it's what we touched on in part 1 in terms of the physicalized nature of the damage. If I fire a small caliber pistol at tank, it's not going to do much. The reason why we have like an Ares or a Retaliator is to allow you to soften up the capital ship shield so that you can actually then get access to the shield emitters and the PDCs and the weapons that are actually keeping your fighters away. And the way that the shield faces work is that they're underpinned by physicalized shield emitters, which are then connected to the core shield generator, or in large capital ships might have multiple shield generators. So ultimately, your first foray should be like, okay, which shield face are we going to try and soften up and dampen to weaken it, to be able to then send in our a squad of fighters to be able to target certain shield emitters, another squad to be able to target the PDCs, or in case if you're taking a much larger ship, like a Javelin size, which will have flax. So you'll have to basically figure out, okay, this group or this squadron will take on this squadron will take on this, and this is where the hologlobe comes in terms of you're the admiral of the fleet, you're going, okay, right, I'm assigning you this target, and then if you're a fighter, you're going to then receive markers. And then obviously you're going to be connected to be able to say, okay, go now, I want you to attack now, because you need to have a coordinated alpha strike. If you just drip feed your damage over time, the capital ship will just be able to absorb it. So this is where you need to be able to go, okay, what's my tactics, what's my high level strategy? And then once you've taken out the PDCs and you've taken down a shield phase, that's when you've got essentially two options. One option will be to board, so you'll be able to then use our hacking gameplay, and then obviously you'll have to fight your way through to the bridge to be able to take over it. Or the other side is then you just, if your mission is to just destroy this ship, if you've taken down those layers of defenses like John says, that's where you then send in the torpedoes. So capital ship gameplay is again planned to utilize all the different roles of the different ships that we've made over the years, and it should be a significant challenge to be able to take out one of those larger ships.
Let's paint a picture here. What's one capital engagement supposed to be?
Well, let's just use Save the Idris event,
okay.
If you want to go through.
Yeah, so realistically, when you're coming up to it, first thing you should be doing is scanning it so you know what you're going up against. You want to do a scan on it to work out where are its shield emitters, so then you can then plan, like we want to take the right-hand side shield emitter down. So we'll mark that as a target, give it to that group.
You might be sending in a Terrapin or a forward ship to be able to get scan data that then relays that back to you on the Polaris and your hologlobe to be able to go, okay, now I've got some information to work with, how do I then approach it from there?
Yeah, because one capital versus another capital is probably the worst scenario if it's literally two single capitals. They need their fleets to reach their maximum potential, so you should be bringing these support ships with you. So yeah, you've scanned it, you've identified your point where you're going to be attacking, you assign a group of fighters from your ship or from your fleet, take away their fighters, try and attack their turrets, and then you run another group to sort of bring down those shield emitters. The majority of them will be under the skin, so you need to scan to find their locations and then target them specifically.
Using ADS.
Damage penetration.
Or precision targeting, as we should say.
So again, things like the two starfighters are great for this role. So you have the Inferno, the ballistics will penetrate through and damage it. The Iron, great to bring the shields down to allow those ballistics to go even easier to the hull.
You've got to take out PDCs as well.
Yep, PDCs as well.
So the PDCs won't just attack missiles and torpedoes, they will also attack other small objects. And so we need to make sure that you've created a safe zone or an entryway and you're punched through those defenses, and then you've got your options of either boarding or destruction, depending on what your objective is.
Sounds like something ideal for a light fighter, just taking down the PDCs.
Absolutely, like light fighter, heavy fighter, but you won't just be able to penetrate the shields on a capital ship because they'd be so heavy. So you'll need to use relevant weapon rate. That's where really the capital ship main weapons come in, because they're the ones that are actually doing the main damage on the shields to be able to soften it up, to allow their fighters and support ships. You can't just roll up and just try and out DPS it. I mean, you can, but you're rolling the dice. Is my ship, capital ship, going to be better than your capital ship? Am I going to be able to maneuver it well? Because that's the one thing to discuss about shield emitters. Right now, you have a shield generator that kind of creates a bubble, and we say, okay, this is this face, right face, left wing. And if you look at the wing, if you shoot the wing from the front and it hits the front of the wing, we just automatically work out like, okay, is that the front face or is that the left face? And for the player, that's not super obvious. So you want to be in understanding like, okay, well, the shield actually hugs the ship. So we need to know, well, actually that's the left face. So you as a player can go, right, that's what we're targeting, that's what we need to bring down, because otherwise these shield generators are so powerful on capital ships, they'll just be coming back.
And throughout all of that, we've sort of assumed that the target ship is just sat there.
Absolutely.
You have the opposite, like you're on the ship.
The
you can
defender is
see,
spinning the ship around, trying to put their stronger side towards the attack.
You're seeing all this fire coming to this side, so you're now trying to maneuver yourself to avoid that. Counter players, they're trying to take out your thrusters to stop you maneuvering, so it is a big puzzle.
So shields down, PDC is cleared. And that's where this can go from a ship versus ship to a combined arms.
Absolutely.
Thing, which is really what's most exciting to me, this idea that you now have to send troops over to breach, and board the ship.
Yep.
Yeah, and also you might have to defend against being boarded. So if you're going up against another player and they've got a Polaris and you've got a Polaris, or when we add the Idris into the game and you're coming up, then you're going to have different mixes of gameplay when you're fighting over whether it's resources, station warfare, all the things that we've discussed previously. We've not really got to end game yet. Yeah. We're still really at mid game. End game is fleet battles and being able to utilize these large ships, and then that comes back to TTD if you do lose, or you need salvage, or you need repair, or you need to rescue the people that are still on the ship. These types of battles, these types of combat add and are underpinned by so much more gameplay than what we've just discussed today. And I think that's where it starts to connect the loops.
All right, so that's just a little bit about capital warfare. Thank you so much for sharing. Our viewers are going to be incredibly excited about that. The Polaris obviously makes its debut at this year's IAE, and while these systems are still in development and will continue to come out in 2025 and beyond, just having this vision intact here, people will be able to judge decisions that come in subsequent releases against the direction that we're going to. So thank you so much. Up next, I have to have a very uncomfortable conversation with Rich. He's a player in my D&D group, and he's been a little too min-maxy. So Rich, let's talk about this, shall we?
Absolutely.
The classic returns.
So today on Lore Makers, we're going to talk about Henry Brown, an exciting inventor who in 1886 filed a patent for one of the most exciting inventions of all time, the file cabinet.
So it turns out that in North America, most of the melons that people think are cantaloupes are actually a different varietal of musk melons.
With the story of the star system with the richest history in the UEE.
It started out as a private detective agency called Pinkertons, and not many people know this, but the Pinkertons actually became the foundation for the US Secret Service.
And so then in order to sell more dictionaries, they changed a lot of the spellings of the word from the original British English into new American spellings.
The system they said couldn't be covered in just one episode.
In Arthurian legend, the wizard Merlin actually had an owl named Archimedes.
And so then with the radiation powering its core, it sort of rose out of the ocean and started destroying the city.
They were right.
You see, the founding fathers, they never intended for us to have Wi-Fi.
Now, the colonel wasn't actually from Kentucky.
This summer, the Lore Makers return.
And that is how you get out of jury duty.
And so they needed a product that would leave their hair silky and smooth. That was called conditioner.
With a new 365-part series.
So they were never actually lost. The island was purgatory.
Since he was coming from a comedic background, not a lot of people thought Michael Keaton could pull off the part.
Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy. Welcome to Earth Edition. Nothing you want to know, everything you need to know.
So at the end of the day, down to brass tacks, there is nothing better than a breakfast burrito. I don't care what the breakfast taco lobby says.
And so then they looked at the baby and they said, your name will be Chris.
The RSI Polaris arrives on day 5 of this year's expo. And instead of asking those who built it what it's supposed to be like, we went to the folks who know these vehicles inside and out, the testers dedicated to putting power through its paces. We return now to the premiere of Pew Pew with the Polaris, presently in progress.
The torpedoes are very interesting anyway. They're bespoke for the ship.
It's the first time?
Yeah, first time S10.
But they are massive.
Yes.
I think they do twice the damage of a size 9, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Move slow, but they're cool.
Yeah.
especially when they hit.
They're big, slow missiles.
It might need changing, but we did do jousting with it during the PT, and
Jousting capital ships.
they were just coming at each other, and you just see them fire off, and it's awesome. Good for a battle, for sure.
All at once,
four
they
tubes.
come one after.
Yeah, they're slightly staggered, so you get
Yeah.
like 1, 2, 3, but there are 4 separate tubes. It's not like when you have it on the Tally or when you have it on the Eclipse.
It means you get to appreciate every single one that comes.
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
Plus, you get 28 of them,
Yeah.
which is
It's a lot.
Yeah.
you can do a lot of damage in a Polaris. Let's just put it that way.
With 28 torpedoes,
Yeah, and the revolving barrel that they're in, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you can see them when you're in the torpedo room. You can like see them get loaded into the racks while you're in there.
Yeah, there's like glass in front of it. Looks really sick when the torpedo like rolls into it.
The chin turret on the front, they now have bespoke guns on.
Yeah.
They're now, I think, size 6, when they were previously size 5, but they're completely bespoke to the Polaris. We basically made it as big as we could so that you could still see out of it. And the top man turret, I think, are now quad size 4.
Are they repeaters? Or
They're laser.
Is it the ones
and
on the side that have cannons?
The chin turret is ballistic.
You also have 2 remote turrets.
Yeah, one of them is just like repeaters and one of them is missiles at the back.
Which you get plenty of ammo for.
Yeah, those are your 2 support seats in the bridge as well. So you're like in the like command deck. I think it's the most guns we have on any ship at the minute.
Is it not challenging like with the Hammerhead?
The Hammerhead is going to be close, I think, but it's a similar experience, but with bigger guns. If you have a full crew, you're going to do an awful lot of damage.
Well, you also make use of them when you got smaller ships swarming around.
Yeah, 100%.
Having all the turrets around the ship really helps with that. Not that they can do much damage to you anyway, because obviously strong shields on the ship.
It's going to be probably the strongest fighting ship we've got, like combat ship we've got. They're pretty awesome. Yeah. It essentially means if you're getting fired by missiles, the guys that you've got on your turrets don't have to worry about them. You can sort of leave those to the PDCs and let the people in turrets shoot the actual ships that are shooting you.
Yeah. Won't hit everything, but you've still got your usual countermeasures. It's just
you've got capital countermeasures as well.
Oh, right.
Which are massive.
Yes, I've seen the smoke screen that comes out.
Yeah, and you can stack them because they're bigger anyway. If you stack a few of the flares up and then set them off up once, it's like a fireworks display. It's crazy. But yeah, the PDCs, when we did the first like implementation of it, and I was testing it with Chris Danks, who's the designer, and like seeing the first time a missile locks, and then they immediately like sit up, turn, and then as it hits, they start firing. It's pretty awesome.
That's really cool.
They do only work if a missile is locked on. So if someone has missile lock, then the PDCs will work because that's how they function. Yeah. But if someone's just dumbfiring missiles or torpedoes at you, they won't see it.
People have to get really good at dumbfiring missiles.
They might have to.
I mean, it's a big target, so I wouldn't worry too much.
No.
So yeah, guys, that's our review of the RSI Polaris. We hope you guys enjoyed. Wait, guys, we need to talk about all the 6 toilets.